Trader Insight, the show where we gather insights from people working in and on businesses from all around the world. I'm your host, Mike Loder, and our latest story for the moment, I'm joined by Dollina Bhasin to speak on rising inflation, interest rates, and the potential of hydrogen as a clean energy source, along with their tips for the top 3 ASX listed stocks to watch. Dollina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Well, I'm pleased to be on ticker, and let's go ahead and start.
Let's get into it. So how have markets reacted to the rising inflation and, of course, those interest rate rises we've seen? And what's your outlook for the stock market as well?
Certainly, that's a very interesting question. And I would say inflation and interest rates are mentioned mostly in tandem in macroeconomics. So interest rates have always found favor with governments to tackle inflation. And inflation rises when the price of goods and services rise too. This brings down the purchasing power of the currency. Inflation gets impacted by the supply and demand for money. And when money availability is cheap, meaning interest rates are low, inflation tends to rise, whereas a reduced money supply by way of increasing interest rate tends to cause a decline in the inflation. So the inflation rate in Australia climbed to almost 6.1% in the Q2 of 2022 from 5.1% in Q1 and compared with a market forecast of 6.2%. This was the highest print since Q2 2001 amid an acceleration in the prices of food and further rises in cost of both fuel and dwelling. So interest rate directly impacts countries' economy, I would say.
Absolutely true. So let's talk a little bit about energy, and you've brought this to my attention, is that the potential of hydrogen as a clean energy source. Let's talk about one clean energy stock that perhaps we should be looking at.
Certainly. I would like to talk about hydrogen as a clean energy source because due to a combination of natural advantages, Australia has the potential to become one of the world's biggest clean energy producers. Ranked 7th in the renewable energy country attractiveness index, renewable accounts for 27% approximately of total electricity generation. Now, Australia is already undergoing a major energy transition as per its plan to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Many countries in the world, I would say, like Japan, Korea, while aspiring to phase out the fossil fuels, are determined to build a hydrogen energy base. So Australia, while already supplying hydrogen to them, has a dream pipeline to become a world leader in hydrogen. Hydrogen also, I would say, provides a safe and clean energy source. The chemical energy of hydrogen is used by a hydrogen fuel cell to produce electricity. And the energy is clean form of energy, with electricity, heat, and water being the only products and the byproducts.
So
now, the international...
Did you have a stock that you'd like to recommend? I'm just aware of the time.
Oh, sure. I would like to recommend a couple of stocks here. So while the consumer discretionary, travel, luxury goods, and property stocks become the first casualty of rising inflation, the sectors I would like to give attention to. So let's talk about the stock Lindsay Australia Limited, which is LAU, an integrated transport, logistics, and rural supply company focused on servicing customers in the food processing, food services, horticulture, agriculture, mitigated the supply disruptions and rather took advantage from such opportunities. So Lindsay delivered underlying EBITDA of $60.1 million, increasing 32.6% year on year, following record revenue of $553.1 million, which was driven by strong demand across group services, despite unprecedented weather events and COVID-19 disruption, which is quite good. Now, if I go ahead...
60 seconds left if you wanted to list the other 2 stocks. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get you back on the show sometime to unpack it further.
Sure. I would like to talk about NEU, which is Neuron Pharmaceuticals, which is a global leader in neuron development disorder therapy. And it has got a strong partnership for Fronitide outside North America. Now, if I go ahead, if I talk about this stock, this is recommended at 1.99 on 13th of August 2021, and it almost tripled in 1 year, now returning more at $260. Then I would like to talk about CAU, which is Kronos Australia, a medical cannabis company in Australia and Asia. And this is one of the stock which has gone ahead and given more than 95% return in just 1.5 months time because it was recommended at 30.5 cents on 8th of August 2022.
Very good rundown from you, Dollina. Thank you so much for your time on the program. And if you do want to discuss these a bit further, we'll have to get you back on. But that's all the time I've got for you today.
Sure.
And thank you again for providing.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
Insight.
Take care.
Dollina.
Thank you.
And of course, thank you to all of you for tuning in. I hope you learned something new there today. I've been your host, Mike Loder, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Be well.